Hi, I'm Susan Peterson, and you are listening to Started from the Bottom, an entrepreneur-focused podcast on getting started. Here you will find all the mindset tools and resources you need to just get started.
Cameron Treu. Stop it. Cameron.
ASMR.
Stop. Okay, Cameron, listen, this is
Okay,
not
I'll
your
be professional.
This is my podcast.
I know it is.
Welcome to Started from the Bottom.
Are we starting?
Yes, we've been recording this whole time.
You know how much B-roll that I could get in trouble with
We're
my own podcast?
actually going to put that all into a TikTok.
Yeah, okay. Please don't. My gum chewing ASMR.
Usually this is a part of the podcast where I say people's bio.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm missing yours.
Yeah, my assistant forgot to send it over.
Who's your assistant?
I'm going to fire her.
Who? Annie?
I don't really have one. It's Siri.
Your assistant is Siri?
Yeah, she's failing.
How are you going to fire her?
I can't because she controls my whole life and yours.
I turn her off, actually.
I don't use Siri. I'm just kidding. I just don't really have a bio. I cook barbecue for a living.
Is it called cooking or barbecuing?
Cooking.
Okay,
Say cooking
good.
or barbecuing.
Okay,
But
Cameron, you are the owner, proud owner, founder, CEO, chairman
mm-hmm.
of Bam Bams BBQ.
Yes, that's true.
How'd you get started in barbecue?
Oh, I saw it on TV.
I know, this is my favorite.
That's the real story. I was watching hockey, and for some reason I was flipping through channels just to find another hockey game and landed on a show called Barbecue Pitmasters. And I don't know what it was. I wasn't into cooking. I didn't even grill on the barbecue really. But it just hit me, and I couldn't turn it even with hockey playoffs on, and I'm like,
it was
hockey
during
freak.
hockey
Yeah.
playoffs?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was like February.
Whoa.
And so, yeah, the next night I bought a little barbecue at Lowe's, and actually I guess it was that night I went to Lowe's. There's a foot of snow outside. It was like a little $50 smoker. I still have it in the back of the restaurant.
Oh, cute.
And I think I made I wish I had pictures. It was probably the worst ribs I used pine, which I'm sure your listeners have no idea that that's a bad thing. But when you cook with wood, you use hardwood.
Oh.
Right? Pine is a softwood. It's full of sap. So imagine what happens to sap when you put it in fire. It turns to like black tar.
Yeah.
And that's what the ribs
Where'd you get
taste
the
like.
pine from? Your
I
backyard?
think I just had some wood in the backyard. I just wanted to see smoke coming out of the smoker. And so, yeah, I've come a long way since then, but that's how it started.
Okay, but for real though, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can.
Well, and that's the thing, when I get into something, I get into it. And I didn't do any research. I just went and bought the first thing I could find.
Yeah.
And it was the middle of winter. There was a foot of snow in the backyard. And so that is not an insulated smoker. It is not easy to cook on when it's cold outside.
Right.
And so, but I loved it and just started from there. And I mean, I don't know how much I cooked for free I just cooked to have fun. I didn't even have people to feed. I just cooked and cooked and cooked. And over the next 2 years, just kind of taught myself and networked into people, and yeah.
And then what?
So, that show, funny enough, that show was kind of my first teacher. So I would watch every episode. I'd pause. I would take pictures with my phone. If I couldn't really see something in the background, I would take pictures with my phone so I could zoom and try to figure out what ingredients they were using. So whenever they would show stuff in the background, I'd write it down and I would just try things. And so I started signing up for these forums and learning that way and just cooking and cooking and cooking. I moved to Arizona with this little marketing company that I started. And in Arizona, I could cook a lot more just because it was warm. But there's also a lot more of a barbecue community down there. There's so many more people. Anyway, so I entered a competition for the first time. I kind of got the guts to enter a competition that was somewhat like what I had watched on TV. And yeah, cooked all night, showed up by myself, and it was 100. So on the asphalt was 130 degrees. It was in Arizona. We were supposed to feed all these veteran motorcycle guys. It was Veterans Day or Memorial Day, and
one of those days.
Anyways, nobody showed up because it was so hot, and I had all this pork, and we ended up just having to kind of throw it away. But I turned in my competition box and finished dead last. And competition barbecue, they call it DAL, dead ass last.
And that's encouraging.
It was, and I thought it was great. And this wasn't really a sanctioned competition like the ones we watched on TV. But because of the weather, the reason I explained the whole weather thing is this promoter felt so bad that we had all donated meat and nobody came, that he said, hey, I am the promoter for an actual KCBS competition next weekend in Northern Arizona. Now, KCBS is what I watched on TV.
What does that stand for?
Kansas City Barbecue Society.
Oh.
So they have they have judging, double blind judging. I mean, it's all over the country. And 3 of the 6 guys that they feature on that first season of Pitmasters were going to be there.
Okay.
So I show up the next week, and, I'm pretty good at, I have no problem saying I'm the new guy, which I did in the cook meeting. And I was there by myself in my wife's little Nissan Murano, like just this little backyard smoker. And luckiest thing happened, this guy next to me who had this big rig, his like broke down and stopped working. So he's like, you know what? You want any help? And he just kind of jumped in. His name's Tom Duncan in Arizona. And he taught me how to build boxes. So in barbecue, we have to build these little fancy boxes with parsley in the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you've seen parsley, you have to like take all the little heads, like the little blossoms off and make them perfect. It's the stupidest thing in the world.
Okay, but
presentation, right.
I was going to say presentation.
Presentation. Sorry.
Sorry. Presentation.
Presentation. And
matters.
So, yes, you eat with your eyes first.
Yes.
Right? So he kind of taught me the ins and outs of that stuff, which was awesome. And I mean, taught me how to, it's like spray bottles of water, baby wipes, Q-tips. Like when you're putting the food in, you can't even get a speck of sauce on the container itself. And if you did, you would just take a Q-tip, dip it in some water, and just like clean it off because you can't touch anything. And anyway, long story short, I came home with like $2,800.
Did you win?
I won pork and chicken, and then I took 5th overall. So I beat all the guys on TV except for one of them. And anyway, next week I did it again in Sedona, Arizona. I went and tried it again just to see if it was beginner's luck, and I pretty much had the same result. And so for the next year and a half, I competed all over the country and got sponsors and sold my half of my little business and got a retail job selling barbecues and helping this barbecue shop. Was making like $12 an hour.
Wow.
It was gnarly. Like it got scary. The poor wife and kids. But yeah, that's kind of how it all started.
How did you, going from dead last, how'd you not just throw in the towel?
Well, I was a little depressed, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But the thing I told myself was that was not a sanctioned competition. Like, it was just kind of a practice version of it.
Yeah.
Even though the guys that were judging it were certified. But yeah, like if I love doing something, it's like, it was my first time ever. So I didn't get that discouraged.
So you were just easy on yourself.
Yeah. This was like, I'm sure it had something to do with presentation or whatever else. But having the help of Tom up in Arizona was huge, because that's the stuff I didn't know. I knew how to cook. I just didn't know how to present. And so, he actually taught me some cool flavor profile stuff. It's funny that he gave me a rib recipe that I still use. So if I were going to go out and compete again right now, I'd actually still use it. I mean, it was awesome.
That's amazing.
But I mean, it's just like anything else. Like, it's networking and just not being afraid to ask for help, not being afraid to be the new person.
Not being afraid to take the help.
'Cause, yeah, people want to help. Like, people that are successful, they want to help. And it was the luckiest thing that I was next to him, that his rig broke down, and we remain friends today. So it's pretty cool.
Okay, so then how did you go from working at what's it called? Barbecue.
Not barbecue. Barbecue Island.
Barbecue Island, which honestly sounds like a place that belongs on Toy Story. Like
kind of does, huh?
Barbecue Island to Bam Bams.
So
there's a journey there.
Barbecue Island was interesting because I kind of loitered there. Like I said, I was obsessed, right? So I'd go there almost every day just to look at smokers and different fuel and just kind of make buddies with the guys, because that's where everybody kind of went to get their stuff. And so he's like, dude, you're here a lot. The owner's name's Mike, and he's helped me a ton. And he's like, you're here enough. You want a job? I want help building the smoker side of the business. You're into it. You're younger. You can help me with some social media stuff. I'm like, let's do it. I was probably making 60, 70,000 a year with this little marketing company that I own, like doing good enough. We were married with 2 kids. And I was like, yeah, I want it for sure. So I sold my half of the business. I think I only got like 20 or 30 grand for it. And, took the job. And so the cool thing about Barbecue Island was, one, he ended up sponsoring me. So he helped me pay for the competitions on the weekends, which they get expensive because you got travel, you got to pay for all the meat, so on and so forth. But the other cool thing is there were quite a few big competitions in Arizona. And so all these pro guys that would fly in for these competitions would go to Barbecue Island, and I kind of became their guy. So like, hey, I need some sauce. I need some foil. I need this or that. And so it also got to the point where when I was out there, because I was in a Barbecue Island trailer, we always made sure to kind of be well stocked on things that guys might forget. And so I kind of used that to, like, here's the foil you needed. Give me a tip. And not like money, like knowledge. Like, give me one thing you do with your chicken that I'm not doing right now. So I would just kind of learn that way. So just kind of use the store as a way to kind of trade for knowledge. And I got to do a few barbecue classes. A couple of the big pros would come in and teach classes at Barbecue Island, and I would kind of be their assistant, kind of learn that way. So as I was competing, I ended up cooking in Lake Havasu, really big competition, right next to a guy named John Lewis. And John Lewis, I mean, in Texas barbecue, he'd have his own like baseball card. I mean, he's one of the big guys.
A rookie card.
Yeah, and his rookie card would be worth a lot. And
I don't even know what that means. I don't. I just said it.
I mean, it sounds like you know what you mean.
I know that's a trick with me in sports.
Sports ball. I still use sports ball. That's my favorite season word.
Hockey.
That's right. You're a hockey pro now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I am.
So anyway, John is this like skinny hipster from Austin, Texas. I don't know who he is other than just cool guy. He had a pet pig, which I thought was kind of funny, being that we were cooking a lot of pig that night. But we hit it off pretty good. I mean, he was a cool guy. And the funny thing is I didn't know kind of how barbecue famous he was. I just liked the guy. And so we end up next to each other again in Grand Junction, Colorado. So we kind of continue being friends. And he comes up to me and forgets this sauce that he uses. And I ended up having some extra stuff. And so he goes, hey, let me give you something for the sauce. And he gives me this butcher paper, which at the time, butcher paper, which now everybody knows about butcher paper with barbecue, like actually cooking in butcher paper. But back then it was still kind of new. And so when he gave me this roll of butcher paper, I was like, this is what the Texas guys use. This is awesome. Thanks, man. And as I'm walking back to my setup, a buddy of mine from Arizona is like, oh, look at you kissing ass. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, you're kissing John Lewis's butt. I'm like, I just gave him some sauce. He's my buddy. I've cooked with him like 3 times.
Yeah, we're like friends.
Yeah. And he goes, do you even know who that is? I'm like, well, I know his last name's Lewis now. He's John. And he goes, no, dude, he cooks for Franklin Barbecue. And I mean, I'm sure most of you listening don't know what that is, but it's the most popular barbecue joint in America. I mean, you've got a 3-hour line every day if you even have a prayer of getting lunch. And he helped open it, like he helped start it. And I was just floored. I was like, he works at Franklin Barbecue. I'm like, yeah. And so I walk right back over. I'm like, you work at Franklin Barbecue? He goes, yeah. Why didn't you tell me? He goes, well, you didn't ask. I'm like, oh. And I just kind of started fanboying right there. But by that time, I knew him well enough that he knew that I wasn't just being nice to him because of who he was.
Mm-hmm.
I was just being nice to him because he's a nice guy. And so, anyway, we got to talking, and he goes, you ever been? I'm like, no, I really want to go. I'm like, it's like my pipe dream to have a restaurant someday. It would be awesome. But, I mean, I just kind of said that. Anyway, long story short, a few months later, Ashley and I, my wife, decide that we got to be done with Arizona. Like, we wanted to move back home.
To
Utah. And so we moved back to Utah, and like a month later, so I'm cooking barbecue on Saturdays to earn money. I didn't have a job. Just selling barbecue in the neighborhood. And I get a call from John in October saying, you still want to open a restaurant? I'm like, you remember me saying that? He's like, yeah. Do you want to open a restaurant? I'm like, yeah, I think someday that'd be really cool. I mean, I don't have the first idea of how to open a restaurant. He goes, well, I'm moving to this other kind of famous barbecue joint. It's called La Barbecue. And anyway, I want some help, but I don't want to teach another Texan my stuff. Would you want to move down here? I'll pay you $500 a week. You can stay at my house for free. Just come down here and help me for the first like 4 or 5 months. Get me on my feet. And this place is already really well established. Like, it had a big line, but they had some family drama, and their pit boss got fired. And they needed another big name to kind of keep it going. And so they hired John. And so anyways, I talked to my wife, and I mean, like I said, married, 2 kids. And I'm like, I could be leaving for 4 or 5 months, and it's for $500 a week. Like, that is not much money. Like, that was less than Barbecue Island.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're talking 80-hour work weeks.
Yes,
like, it was wild.
This is her dream.
Yeah,
right here.
seriously. At first, she's like, yeah, this is amazing. Leave. But no, she was really supportive of it and was just like, if you ever want to open a restaurant, you have to do this.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like 4 or 5 days later, I was loading up the truck and driving to Austin, Texas. And so it was wild. I pulled in at 2 a.m, and I was so excited that I actually went to the restaurant because it was outside. Like, it's a big outdoor cooker, outdoor trailer. I had seen it a bunch on a bunch of these travel channel, like Anthony Bourdain had just gone there. And anyway, I went there and spent like 30 minutes just looking around. And then I went to his house, got there about 3:30, and I started cooking at like 8 the next morning.
Wow.
And I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I was a good competition barbecue cook, but restaurant cooking is so much different. And so, yeah, just dove in the deep end, and it was just him and I. So, I mean, it was 80 to 90 hour work weeks.
Wow.
But it was a riot. And I mean, I learned so much. But I mean, January hit, and it was like Ashley had kind of hit her wall, and it was really starting to kind of hurt the marriage. And so came back, and I think
Bam Bams in May.
Yeah, I think it was, I got back in January, and I opened Bam Bams June 1st.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's, if it wasn't for that Austin trip, no Bam Bams.
We went, Chris and I, we somehow figured out that you were doing like a pre-opening.
Right.
And we went that night.
Oh, really? Yeah, like the little soft opening night.
And I think we went back every night that week.
Really?
Yes, it was so good.
Oh, that was fun.
Just before we were friends.
Yeah, that was like, you must have heard through Jill.
Uh-huh.
I think it was like friends and family.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we met, was through Aunt Jill.
Aunt Jill.
And
Jilly.
so Jilly. And so yeah, it was terrifying. I knew my recipes. I knew how to cook. I opened it for $45,000. It always amazes people.
Yeah.
It amazes me. I mean, I couldn't open what I have now is much different, but yeah, I mean, it was all used. We built everything ourselves, built all the tables, the counters.
Really scrappy.
It was scrappy, and opened it up, and we're almost 10 years now.
Is that real?
Yeah. Yeah. So next June 1st of next year will be 10 years.
Oh my gosh, we're old.
Yeah. We are old.
Oh my God.
It's so bad.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah,
I was thinking 5 years ago.
No.
Wow.
10 years. Yeah, June 1st was 9. So
We're coming up on a decade of friendship.
yeah.
Isn't that wild? Tell me about growing up, Cameron. Like what? Like, were you an entrepreneur?
No, not really. I mean, I was obsessed with hockey. Like that was kind of my thing growing up. And I was just a mover and I just always wanted to be doing stuff. I was horrible at school.
Are you a fast skater?
For my size, it would blow your mind.
What position do you play?
Defense.
Defense.
Left defense was my preferred position. Yeah.
And how many shots on goal do you have? You good?
Wow.
You good from back there?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I hate you.
Golf and hockey are both horrible that way. I'm going to giggle.
You guys can't hear it, but I just rolled my eyes so hard.
Yeah,
my
eyes
almost got stuck in the back of my head.
Now I'm nervous. No, so I grew up a forward and I loved stick handling. Like that was my favorite thing to practice in the garage. So I have really good, just handling the puck. So it's like dribbling in basketball. Like there's those guys that just have great handles, right? That's what they call it. And so, but as I grew up, I got bigger and bigger, and it's like you don't really have the speed.
How tall are you?
I'm 6'5".
Oh, you might be the shortest guy we've had on the podcast.
Yeah, get some Kafusis on here.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I just love, I heard a funny joke. Just tell a guy if you just want to mess with him.
I know this joke. I think you already got me with it.
I've told you a bunch, but I haven't gotten you with this one yet.
Okay. Say it. I want to hear it.
You just look a little shorter today. I guess in my head you were taller, but you're not as tall as I thought you were. Does it hurt at all?
I don't get it.
It's just like a mean thing to mess with guys' heads.
Just saying that you're shorter?
Yeah, you look like you can't swim.
I don't understand.
Does that hurt?
What?
Which grade were you held back? Was it first? What's the scrappiest thing you've ever done?
Scrappiest thing I've ever done. It's got to be Texas.
Yeah. That was like a whole family scrap.
Whole family scrap. And I mean, a lot. I've told quite a few people this. I don't know if I've talked about it on podcast, but when I opened Bam Bams, I was separated.
Yeah.
And so it did. Like barbecues almost cost me the marriage twice.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the first like 2-3 months of the restaurant, I was living at grandma's. Like didn't even get to spend time with my kids because I was so yeah, I'd say Texas, and then the first 6 to 8 months of the restaurant where I was just manager, cashier, cutter, cooker. Like it was everything. And just keeping it together. I mean, that was the hardest, and I've been through some hard stuff, but that was the hardest 6 months of my life. And it should have been the most like rewarding and exciting. And it was during the day, but then the second the lights went out, I was a mess. Like locked the doors and I was just a mess just because I should have been celebrating that with my family. So it's like you do have to sacrifice a lot and you do have to be scrappy. And I think it was Brock Blake. He's the CEO of Lendio. He said something great on the podcast. It's like every successful entrepreneur has like 3 fetal position moments or something. I think it was something like that.
Yes, I can think of mine.
How great is that?
I hate that.
And but we all have them, right?
Yeah.
Like anybody who owns their own company has had those moments, and that was my biggest one for sure.
How do you feel like? How'd you guys end up getting through that?
I mean, I don't know. Looking back now, it was just, I think, just time and space, and we had been poor for so long. You know, we were pretty comfortable. I sold alarms for a long time. We were doing great then, and then I was doing pretty good with our own little company. But the second I switched to barbecue, we were just like, I mean, it was like every other month we were at the Coinstar, like cashing in coins to pay a bill.
Yeah.
And that was probably a 4 or 5 year span. And
there's 2 things I say. I don't trust you if you haven't done these 2 things.
Yeah.
At least one of them.
I've heard this before.
If you haven't worked in food.
Right.
Service. Like, I don't know if I can trust you.
You're not going to trust a lot of kids coming up.
Yeah. And then if you haven't ever like taken your coins to the Coinstar so that you could buy something.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
I don't know if I can like relate. And you only have to have one of those two, but.
Right. Well, nowadays, a lot of kids don't even have cash. Nobody has coins, but.
Oh, shit.
You know what I mean?
Do?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like payday advance loans or something.
Yeah, I guess the
You've
new
done
one
that.
is
That's the new cashing in your change.
if you haven't begged your mom for a Venmo, then I can't trust you.
You haven't sold drugs or your body.
Oh, stop it.
No? Oh, okay. No, too far. Yeah. What? Oh yeah, feet. Seriously, this kid, my ward, talked about that the other day. She was just joking, but I was just like, we're sitting at a wedding reception. Her parents are right there. She goes, I just need to start selling pictures of my feet. I was like, and her parents didn't get it. And I was just like, what are you talking about? And she just wants like this Jeep or something. And I'm like, it is just crazy. Like this feet thing is so weird.
You don't.
I have big feet. I should sell pictures of my feet.
I don't.
Per pound, I get a lot of money.
It's not per.
It's not by inches or pounds or anything.
Take all.
I have a size 15 foot.
Shut up.
Double E.
Oh my gosh.
You can leave that part in. That's funny.
Not per pound. Okay. This question I only ask the men.
Okay. Sexist, but go ahead.
Yep, exactly. How do you balance your home life and family, like your home work family life?
Andrew Van Buren and I talk about this on the podcast a lot. He says something interesting. He says there's no such thing as work-life balance.
Mm-hmm. Feels like he stole that from me, but continue.
Maybe. For me, it was never really a balance thing as much as just, I guess I've never done that intentionally. I don't want to miss games. I don't want to miss anything like that. But at the same time, anybody starting a company that thinks they're going to have any sort of balance, they're smoking crack. So like that first year, even if I was at home, I would have never been home.
Yeah, you're just constantly thinking about the business.
Well, and that's the thing is like with cooking especially, like I'm starting at 4 a.m, restaurant closes and I'm prepping for the next day. And so once you get up and going, that can change a little bit. But I think it kind of depends on where you're at. In the beginning, there's no such thing, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you feel like you have balance now?
I feel like it's kind of gone the opposite direction where now I have to force myself to like work, which is such a blessing. And I always fight this like shame feeling, like this guilt feeling, like I need to be doing something. But at the same time, I have to remind myself like, worked really hard to get here. And I'm not one of those people that has that curse of like more.
Must be nice.
It is nice. But sometimes I do think that it hurts me because not because I don't want more, but because I need a little more structure. Like I talk about my ADHD a ton, and I have to have either like a passion or an emergency to really get me moving.
Or someone who has your location.
Yeah. We should talk about that.
Let's do it.
It's funny. I gave that to you easier than I gave it to my wife the first, like once I finally decided like, okay, you can have my location. You were just like, give me your location. I'm like, okay.
Well, because you're impossible to get a hold of.
Right. Well, that's because of my work-life balance, Susan. And so I really put family first.
You really do.
Yeah.
You do. Your kids are always with you.
I do. And I love hanging out with my kids. And we're comfortable, and I have amazing staff, and I feel like I do really well at treating them well and paying them what they're worth. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, the work-life balance thing is a hard thing for me because I think it's important to be busy, but if you're building something, you're not going to have balance. But I think the trick is to know when enough is enough, and if you have enough to be comfortable. And you can afford to not be at work 24/7 and go to kids' games. Like you go, like you've got to be able to put it away. Right.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I don't have a great deep answer for that other than just the second you can afford to not be there once school lets out, for example, like don't be there.
Yeah.
And so like I should open more Bam Bams. I should do food trucks. I should do all this stuff. And I'm just kind of waiting for that day when it hits that I really want to do that.
Yeah.
But it's just not there yet. And a lot of people think I'm crazy, but I kind of love being able to do whatever I want.
Well, we talked about this with, I talked about this with Lisa. And I think, and I also talked about this with Brooke when we talked about my mastermind. I think that it's really important that you build the business you want.
Right.
And you don't build the business that you think you should want.
I like that a lot.
I think like in my mastermind, we go through this a lot. Like, what do you want? We can build anything.
Yeah.
You could have built you had all these opportunity to build the food trucks, to open other restaurants. You did. And it just didn't work into what you were trying to build for your family. Right. And so it's not right for you. And I think like that's a trap that's so easy to get caught up in, where you think, oh, well, my business is growing slower, or I'm doing this differently, or things are taking longer to get off the ground. But if it works for you, that's all that matters.
Totally. And the more train will never stop, right?
Yeah.
Like we were at some friends of ours built a house in Alpine, and it's unreal. And it's so hard to go to places like that and just go like, oh, I need to open some more Bam Bams. I need more money. Mm-hmm. I need to. But what's funny is then you get that, and then it's like, then it's the next thing, and then it's the next thing. And it's like, you know what? I feel like if you're putting your family first and you are trying to balance your time, like if that's something that you want, it will happen eventually.
Yeah.
But sometimes it takes some time, and it doesn't have to be now. And you'll never get to, I can make money for years, right? But I can't go back to my kid's 6th grade play.
Yeah.
There's only one of those.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Thank goodness. You're right. But you don't want to miss that stuff if you don't have to miss that stuff.
Yeah, if that's your priority.
Right.
Yeah. So for me, we built that big, beautiful house.
Right.
And it cost so much money, and it was such a pain to keep up, and there was so much that goes into like maintaining it. But the reason we ultimately sold it was because I didn't feel close to my kids anymore.
Yeah.
Like they were in their rooms, which was, when I would clean that house on the weekend, which I love to do. We had cleaners, but I love cleaning my house on Saturdays.
That's
it's like,
weird.
I know, but it's one of my things.
I get it.
I would get 20,000 steps in a day.
That is flex right there.
When I would clean that house.
Do you know how many steps I have to take to clean my house?
Exactly. But the thing that was frustrating was I did not feel close to my kids.
For sure.
So we sold that house. We downsized to a third. We went from 10,000 square feet to 3,000 square feet.
Right.
And my kids are always up in my business now, and I love it.
Right. And you don't have to clean the 7,000.
Yeah, I mean, I only get 5,000 feet. I only get 5,000 steps when I clean on the weekend. Sometimes 7, depending on what's happening.
Right.
But I realized for myself, like, I love beautiful things, but it doesn't have to be like my stuff can look different than other people's.
Yes.
I kind of felt like, you make the money. You build this house. That's what you do. I thought that's what I wanted. I got into it and I was like, actually, I don't want this at all.
Yeah.
So I got out of it.
That's interesting.
But I want more. Okay. Have we played this game? Money, fame, power. You can only pick 2. What do you pick?
Money, fame, power?
Mm-hmm.
Money and power.
Exactly. All day.
Forget fame. Who wants that?
Money twice if I could.
I'll get recognized at Costco, and I have to teach people how to cook brisket while I'm trying to grocery shop. And I'm like, and that's nothing. I'm like a D-list celebrity in Utah County. And even that's annoying. Like, and I love it. Like, I want to talk to people about it for sure. But there's some times where I'm just like, could you imagine if that happened everywhere you went?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would never want to be a celebrity.
You'd
ever.
never want to leave your house.
Never.
Yeah, you don't leave your house anyway.
But
I have
man,
your
so
location, so I know.
Yes, you do. So many people want to be famous. I don't understand it.
Anyway, so I love money. I love counting my money. I want more and more and more money. I love money. Okay, What is?
Never heard you say that before.
You haven't?
No.
Really?
I think it's cool that you can say that. But yeah, I don't know. I want more money. I just don't want to have to do anything for it. I need to learn how to invest better. Or win this $2 billion lottery. You heard about that?
Yep. Should we go to Idaho?
Yeah, I think we should.
What are you doing after this?
Yeah, capital gains tax.
Yeah, but you only have to pay what, 500 million? It's fine. You'll still have 500 million left.
Seriously.
Go to Idaho. We'll each give you $1. You buy one for all of us.
Done.
Okay. And then we'll split the 500 million, but we'll be like the people in China where you wear clown suits. So no one in your family actually knows it's you. Okay.
Oh, that would be amazing.
We've got it set. I love working for my money.
Yeah.
Honest day work for an honest day pay.
See, I miss cooking. I don't cook much anymore, other than when I travel and cook, which I still do that, which is probably my favorite thing that I do. Mm-hmm. But,
like when you go to the Saints games.
Yeah. Like I'm going, my first Saints job this year is in 2 weeks.
Are you taking Dodger to that?
Yeah, that's the birthday party for Dodger. He is so excited, but I do miss those early mornings and watching the sunrise over Rock Canyon. Like the front of the restaurant has like a straight shot, and it's just quiet, and I miss that for sure. But yeah, I've kind of grown out of it, and I miss it a little bit. But
you're in a new phase of life.
But that's the thing is, I'm just kind of waiting for that next thing. But I don't know what it is yet.
I don't know either.
So I have a feeling it's going to be either, like if in the work realm, it's going to be food trucks. I think that's next. But either that or competing again. I've kind of been thinking about that too. I haven't competed in barbecue for 10 years.
You'd probably lose.
I probably would lose, but it would still be fun.
Everything's changed.
It's a very social thing. It's so fun. It's such a crazy group of people. And it's just, you meet some really cool, fun people from all over the country. And so anyway, something like that.
What is one lesson that you learned early on in your business that is still true today?
Take care of your people. That's probably the biggest one. Is I read like I always say, Gordon Ramsay taught me how to open a restaurant. Like everything I do, I learned on Kitchen Nightmares. And I mean, other than what I learned I didn't really learn how to open a restaurant in Texas. I learned how to cook restaurant barbecue. But a lot of what I learned was from Gordon Ramsay, watching the show, reading his books. And it just said, like, you will have so many employees come and go, but your core group, make sure they never have to ask for a raise. Like, stay ahead of it. Make sure that you always leave somewhere for them to grow into. Like, don't just give them the farm. Like, make sure you stay ahead of their raises, but, keep places to go. And then once they get there, give them a little, like, ownership and just keep them happy. And I feel like I've done really well at that. I've got 3 employees that have been 2 of them have been with me since the 6th month we were open, and they're still with me today. And then Marcus, who's running the restaurant now, I think he started 1.5 years in and is still with me. And so I watched these kids grow up, which is really cool. And so I think that's, if you're starting a business, you can't replace that core group. Yeah. Like, you have to take care of them like their family. And yeah, that's probably my biggest one.
I love that. What is some advice you would give young Cam?
Ooh. Business?
Anything.
Ooh, there's a lot. Oh, man.
Don't be a dumbass.
Yeah, don't be a dumbass. Don't be the school mascot for homecoming week your senior year, even if it helps you graduate.
Okay. I actually don't want to know. I'm afraid to ask.
I was probably the most athletic big guy in the school, and instead of playing offensive line in the homecoming game, I was running around in a bee outfit, bee costume.
Did you get kicked off the O-line?
No, I played hockey, so we didn't have hockey at school, but I should have been playing hockey. But instead I was running around with cheerleaders.
Well.
And running up and down Main Street in the summer in a WASP uniform. I lost 13 pounds. I almost passed out.
That uniform stunk.
Oh, it didn't stink for me. It was brand new. Whoever had to put that on afterwards, I'm sorry. I think younger Cameron, it would be probably marital advice. It'd probably just be don't take your spouse for granted. Even when you're busy, even when you're working, like pay attention, because especially with you girls, no news is not good news.
Mm-hmm.
With men, no news is good news, right? Like we think everything's fine, but you guys are like, there's a building volcano inside that nobody can see.
Possibly.
Until one day hits the fan. And you just have to pay attention. And
yeah, and it's a straight P&L. In January, you did this. In
Yep.
February, you did this.
Yep.
In March, you did this and this and this.
That's a profit loss,
Yes.
just so everybody understands. That's the one email that you either really love or you really hate at the end of every month. But no, I tell everybody, and I think this applies to business owners and married people. Go to therapy.
Yes.
Like I always tell kids that are getting married around here, I don't care how great you think your marriage is. Once a quarter, you go to a marriage counselor.
Yes.
It's just like changing your oil, right? So I would say that would be number one. And then also for business owners, like go to some sort of counselor, therapist, mentor.
Yep.
Somebody that can just shoot you straight, not worry about kissing your butt or being nice, and just keep you centered. Because when you start opening a business, especially when you start dealing with like haters.
Yeah. And also what happens is your limiting beliefs come to the surface and you need someone to kind of skim them off for you.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so true.
Because
we all think we don't know what we're doing.
Yes, but you actually do. Chris and we started booking a 3-hour therapy session.
Good heavens.
But listen, this is so good. So I go for the first hour.
Smart.
And then we go together for an hour and then he goes for an hour.
Interesting.
So we drive separate. It's actually really nice.
I like that. I think that's cool.
Because you know what I learn every time? That I'm actually the problem.
I could have told you that. How can he be the problem? He's so mellow and just sweet.
Have you met him?
I know. Of course I've met him. He's the best. But you're the best too. You have very different personalities, but they're so complementary.
I know.
But polarity is what we need, right?
Yeah.
Like best relationships, business partners, polarity is good, but they take work. It's hard to be with your opposite, right?
Yeah.
And things just build up and they will, especially if you have a business partner or a spouse or a life partner that is not a communicator.
Yeah.
They just hold it in until the explosion. And so that would probably be my advice, is either have a mentor or a therapist that can I really like the limiting beliefs thing. I had never thought about that, because you'll get a day where it's like, this is too much for me, too big for me. I'm not smart enough for this.
Mm-hmm. What was I thinking?
Right.
Yeah. I also feel like whether it's business, whether it's work, whatever it is, you need to deal with your crap.
Yep.
And you need to get yourself to therapy, get over it, move on with your life.
Yeah. No matter how successful you get, don't allow yourself to be surrounded by yes people.
Yeah.
Because that happens a lot too.
Yeah.
Like that's why you want a therapist that can just say, get over yourself.
You're the worst.
So wives are good at that though too.
No doubt. So are friends named Susan.
Yep.
Okay. So what legacy are you trying to build?
That's a funny question. I haven't really thought about that until like a month ago. It's just like, do I care about legacy? Like, do I care about Bam Bam sticking around? For me, it's people, and it's mostly family. Like, I want my family and close friends to just be so grateful that I'm in their lives. That's really all I care about. I don't really care about like people knowing about Bam Bams after I die, or people knowing like who I was. I don't know. I think that there's so many people that care so much about leaving a legacy in that way. And I don't know. I think your connections her personal connections are so much more important. So
Yeah.
I think for me, that would be more important. Just somebody that was there for people, giving, loving, and fun.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, rapid fire.
Uh-oh.
Ready?
Hopefully.
Who's your favorite child?
Hannah.
Really? No.
Does anybody answer that question?
Yes, everyone does, especially men. They answer quick.
Yeah.
All women say they're both my favorite or they're all my favorite.
Right. It's funny. I have like different categories of favorite. Like Hannah's the baby, and we're just tight. I always joke that Taya's my overall favorite because she was the first.
Mm-hmm.
Like the girls are my favorite, right? So I have 2 boys, 2 girls, and so, but my favorite like hangout right now is Dodger. So I have like different categories, but I still say rapid fire. It's Hannah.
Okay. Who's your best friend?
Andrew Gross. Been my best friend since 8th grade.
Where was he when you were in the wasp suit?
He was making fun of me from the bleachers.
Yeah, as a best friend should.
Yeah, as he should.
Football or hockey?
Hockey all day long.
To watch?
Everything. Watch,
Okay.
play.
Favorite team?
And what?
Hockey.
Hockey? Blackhawks. Chicago Blackhawks.
Okay.
Kings are a very close second. That's the team I grew up with, Los Angeles Kings. But I lived in Chicago for about 10 years selling alarms and just kind of fell in love with the Blackhawks. So
Okay.
that's my team.
Okay.
And then the Grizzlies for in-state, of course.
Yes. The
Yeah.
Grizz. The good old Grizz. That's where you can find Cameron and I.
That's right.
Yeah.
Not until the 17th, though.
Not till the 17th. Then the 17th, 18th, and 19th we'll be there.
I'll be in New Orleans.
Oh, you're the worst.
I know. But I'll be at the first one.
Okay. Okay. So this is the last question.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a truth or truth.
Okay.
So I give you 3 categories. You pick one and I ask you a question based on what you pick. Girl boss, gatekeep, or gaslight.
Girl boss, gatekeep, or gaslight?
Yeah. Do you have any questions?
Girl boss.
Ooh. Who's your favorite girl boss?
You.
Really?
Hell yeah. Like one of my best buddies.
It is true.
Yeah.
Who's your second favorite girl boss?
Jess Toolson.
Third. Be careful. You know a lot of girls.
I do. I know a lot of girl bosses because of the podcast.
Yep.
And I'm just.
Probably Anna.
I was going to say, Anna is up there, and I really like, oh my gosh, the face is right there. There are a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that that's probably my top 3. I love Betsy.
Betsy's the best.
Oh,
There's some good girl bosses in Utah.
there's so, Jody Orgel. Do you know her?
Mm-mm.
Oh man, I love her. Look her up if
You're
hearing me.
probably my favorite boy boss.
Really? Why are you laughing so hard?
Because boy boss is a funny word.
It is kind of a funny.
Girl boss
Man
is funny.
boss.
No, baby boy boss.
Baby face boss.
Baby boy boss. All right, Cam. Thanks for coming on my podcast.
Anytime. This was fun.
You're the best. Thank you.
Sorry about my inappropriateness. I can't
Well-
wait to see how much you leave in.
Cut it all out.
No, leave the feet stuff. It's worth it.